is very different. Okay? Is okay sound now? Yeah? Okay. Yeah, of course, tooth preparation is something which is important. But of course, the criteria is always we need to cut enough so that we have the minimum thickness for the restoration. But for the patient, of course, it's better to cut less, right? Because we want to be minimally invasive. So the problem is when we have either the wrong preparation for the design, if this is wrong, or we have not enough thickness. Then we are ending up with chippings and fractures like this. So to avoid this, I just would like to show you. So you know that ceramics are like raw eggs. I told you at the beginning, right? So we need to provide like a supportive restoration. That means rounded. Everything needs to be rounded. Yeah? It should look rounded for the preparation. So first of all, I definitely can recommend before you start the preparation to apply an obturagate. I don't know if you have tried this before. Obturagate is a very flexible cheek and mouth retractor that really allows you can see, this obturagate allows you to have very good access to all of the teeth. Because it retracts the cheek, the cheek outside. Puts it outside here and the lips, so that you have very good access to the patient's mouth. So this obturagate you can use for a lot of indications, yeah? Not only for preparation. For example, I use it when I use impression. I always use obturagate. Or when I'm doing some scanning for CAD/CAM dentistry, then obturagate is really a very good option. Okay, so this is how it looks like. And one other thing is, when we talk about ceramics, is we need to avoid tensile stresses. I told you that compressive stresses is not a problem for the ceramic, but tensile stresses is damaging one. So now when we look at an MOD, this is like a classical MOD preparation that you might have for metal inlay, for example, right? So now, when you have that transition here, right? This transition here is not very good. You're actually inside the material, you have tensile stresses inside. Not so good. So the best way would be, for the ceramic, would be to have like a dome-shaped preparation. Yeah? So we can measure this, okay? This is a finite element analysis. We can actually measure where we have high stresses, okay? You can see here we have tensile stresses in this area, yeah? Or not stress. You can see if we have a different preparation, not like this square, if you have like that, you can see we have a reduced stress. So, and of course, less stress you have in the ceramic, the less is the likelihood that you have a chipping or fracture inside the material. Okay, so if you just look like this, you can see this is something preparation for a gold onlay. Gold onlay relied on the retention, okay? Retention of the preparation. So now you have retention here, parallel wall here, and a parallel wall there. For gold, it's okay. But for ceramic, it's not good, yeah? You have too much stress. Again, you get tensile stress peaks in this area here. And you don't need this here, okay? If it looks like this, it's wrong. So, the design for ceramic must look simple. Relatively simple design. So this one is more for gold, not for ceramic. We want to avoid sharp angles and edges. This is what we need to avoid in the preparation for ceramics. So don't do it like this, okay? So what we need to do is, sorry, this one is German, günstig, and it means favorable. Your first German word. That means favorable, okay? So this would be the ideal preparation of an inlay for ceramic. Of course, sometimes we cannot do like this, because otherwise we would really cut away too much. Yeah? So there's one thing is the ideal preparation for the ceramic, and the other one is we don't want to be too invasive. You know what I mean? Okay, but what we need to do is we need to transform tensile into compressive stress. We need to have round transitions. We want to have continuous changes in the cross-section and a relatively simple design. So these are the criteria for the ideal ceramic preparation. So what we don't want to have is like these sharp edges. We need to avoid this. We want to have rounded edges in the ceramic. And also when you have the cavity floor, you can see this cavity floor to the wall here. It's better if you use a rounded preparation here. So we have rounded edges and not like this, okay? Rounded torpedo instrument here, so that we have rounded internal line angles. It's much better for the ceramic. Okay, now for an inlay preparation, it's important when you actually remove the decay with a rotary instrument, you usually end up with a situation like this, right? You're leaving, because of the round rotary instrument, you have this situation where you have this overhang, kind of an enamel overhang, and you should not leave it like this. Yeah? You have to open this. Okay? Because what happens is when we are bonding to this, we have unsupported enamel here, and of course the resin cement shrinks, and you have some micro fracture in this area. Okay? Some micro fracture. So when you look at this, when you dry the tooth, you will have like a white line. So you send back the patient. The patient is drinking very good Vietnamese coffee. You have discoloration of that line. So the white line becomes a black line or a brown line. If you have this on the first premolar or second premolar in the visible area, everybody can see. Okay? So to avoid this, you should actually remove this area. Yeah, this should be like this. In other words, you don't leave it like that, but you have to finish this margin from the inside to the outside, like this. Okay? But you have to be careful that you don't touch the neighboring tooth if you do this with a rotary instrument, because here you have a neighboring tooth. So when you are actually doing the preparation in the interproximal, you have to be very careful that you don't place any damage to the neighboring tooth. Okay? This is just what I've told you, micro fractures. White line becomes a dark line. Yeah? So either you are protecting the neighboring tooth with a metal band, for example, or what you can do is, I like to use these sonically driven preparation tips. The thing is now, you can see, this is the area where you prepare. So this is diamond coated, but on the outside, on the outer side here, there's no diamonds. It's not diamond coated, so you cannot damage this area. So this is very easy. It's just not for whole preparation, just for finishing the margin. Yeah? So this is the last step, and you can see you get very nice. This is open, yeah, and you get very nice preparation line here. Yeah. This is also better for the papilla, because sometimes when you go there with a, let's say, a tip preparation burr, you know, like a feather one, sometimes you touch the papilla and it starts bleeding. So this one is more gentle, and it, you have less likelihood of bleeding when you just use like this. Yeah. So I just go in here. You can see this is not coated here; it's just diamond coated there. And this is the situation. I got very clean and crisp margin here, and also on the cervical. So this works very well. Yeah. You just put it, you know, you have your ultrasonic for cleaning, right? So instead of using that ultrasonic tip, you just connect those tips here. It's called oscillating preparation tip. So all major companies have it, yeah? Like Sirona has it, EMS, I think all the guys who produce burrs, they also produce these preparation tips. Actually, I'm doing this for my indirect, but for my direct restorations, I also use it. Right? I use it all the time in proximity. Good. Okay, let's have a few cases here again. So we just, you can see there were some metal restorations before. So after cleaning, that's just with immediate dentin sealing. I block out some of the undercuts. Okay. Just reminding you about the minimum thickness of emax. So this will be minimum thickness for inlays is 1 millimeter. So 1 millimeter deep, and the isthmus here also needs to be at least 1 millimeter deep. And for partial crowns or for onlays, same thing, 1 millimeter here. And where you have the cast coverage, also it needs to be 1 millimeter of minimum thickness. You can see some of the competitive material like Celtra, you need to do much more, 1.5 to 2 millimeter of reduction is needed for some other materials. Okay, good. So you can see we always need to observe the minimum thickness of the restoration, otherwise there is a risk that we have a fracture here. You can see in this fracture, it was not 1 millimeter. And so, if we are too thin, then of course there is a higher risk for a fracture. So to avoid this, we always need to observe the minimum material thickness, and of course we need to know the minimum material thickness. Good, so there's another question. Question is always, when should we cap remaining cast or not cap the remaining cast? To be honest, this is something which is not very clear. Because we don't have studies, clinical long-term studies, same restoration without capping the cast, and on the other side of the same patient, same restoration with capping the cast. This kind of study is called split mouth design. But we don't have this clinical data available. So when you go to conferences, one speaker will tell you, I never do the cast capping, and it works. And the other speaker will tell you, you always need to cap that cast. Only then it will work. Okay? So it's a little bit disputed, yeah? This topic. So as a general guideline, if you have less than 1 millimeter of remaining cast thickness, then you need to cap it. Because otherwise there is a higher risk for the remaining cast fracture. Okay? Okay, now I'm coming back to these undercuts. I just mentioned it before. When you have, let's say, you have a restoration and you have undercuts, so let's say if you don't have this restoration and you take an impression, give it to your lab, the lab will block out this undercut on the model, and then if you receive back this restoration, that's where you have this situation. So your restoration is in, and you still have this undercut, okay? Now if you cement this, this will be all filled with resin cement, okay? And the resin cement now, it will shrink, yeah? So you have what we call a situation where you have a lot of shrinkage stress, yeah? A high C factor called configuration factor, okay? So if the material shrinks here, it will detach from the weakest area, from the weakest bond. You got my point? You have a lot of stress, it shrinks, and then it will be connected all around, and on the weakest spot it will disconnect if the shrinkage is too strong, if the stress is too strong. You got my point?
Yeah.
Now the bond to the ceramic is very strong. The bond to enamel here, very strong. And here on the floor of the cavity, it's the weakest bond, because we have a lot of dentinal tuberous. And if you have a detachment down there, you will have sensitivity problem, because you have then liquid movement inside the dentinal tuberous. So you will have a debonding on the most critical surface, which will be down there. And this is why it's so important that you block out the undercuts before you do the impression or the scan. Alright? So that means the high stress that you have from the shrinkage of the resin cement because of these undercuts, they lead to internal gap in here, and then the patient has a biting sensitivity. The patient comes back after 2 or 3 days and says, I have pain here. Okay, you say, take a seat. You check the occlusion. That's the first thing you will check with the occlusion. Maybe it's a little bit too high. Maybe you can adjust the occlusion. But you will check and you see everything is perfect. Everything is perfect. You have exactly the same contact points like on the neighboring teeth, but the patient still complains about sensitivity. And this is because you have a debonding down there. Right? Okay, this is why immediate dentin sealing in combination with blocking out the undercuts. If you have undercuts here, you should block it out with a flowable. If it's a little undercut, you can block out everything with a flowable. If you have very strong undercut, I recommend you use a standard viscosity composite to block it out. Yeah? So now, for example, if we remove these ones here, you can see we have undercuts here. We do a bonding procedure and we can block out the undercuts with flowable here. And after that, we can do our inlays, no problem. So in this one, you can see this one is Empress Cat, but Empress Cat is very weak. It's much weaker than emax, but of course for inlays, no problem. Yeah? So you don't need always the strongest ceramic. Yeah? It depends on the indication. Okay. Also here you can see I want to remove all these restorations here. Okay, you can see now there a little bit of build-up, a little bit of blocking it out. Here I did a little bit of a build-up here. Yeah. So everything is immediate dentin sealing also here. Okay, and then you can see just these restorations. Yeah. And they just disappear. Right? So after cementation and rehydration of the teeth, it looks good. Good. Now for onlay preparation, as I said before, we need to make sure that that everything is rounded. You can see this cast is very rounded here. Yeah. Also here, everything is rounded with the chamfer also. What you can do is here, this wall here, you just you don't make it like this, yeah. You don't make it like 90%. You just finish it down a little bit, yeah. Finish it down a little bit. You can see this is how the prisms run, enamel prisms. So if you just finish it a little bit down in this area, you also cut across the prisms, which gives you a better bond to the enamel. You know, when you are just parallel to the prisms, you don't get such a good bond compared to cutting across the enamel prisms. Yeah, it has been shown in many studies. So you just blocking it down a little bit, and it looks actually better. You have better adhesive bond here, and it also integrates better for aesthetics. Okay, so we remove the old restorations, and again here you see everything is rounded here, yeah? Everything is rounded off here, yeah? Rounded, slightly beveled down here, so that I get a very good enamel bond. Also here you can see these are restorations I like to do because I still have enamel left, cusps left, and I can directly bond to these. Important is that we always keep the enamel margin because the bond to enamel is better and more predictable than the bond to dentin. That's why very important is that we always keep our enamel margin here. Another thing here, okay, I want to keep this cusp here, yeah? I don't cut down this cusp, I want to keep, but I have enamel, here, and here I don't have enamel, but I have to deal with it, right? It's getting a little bit difficult to isolate it here, but I almost can manage here. If it's deeper, you can see I can manage with some ligature, it's my obtra dam, and then I combined with some ligature with the inversion technique. So I actually invert the rubber dam here in combination with the ligature, and then I can achieve very good result. You can see here. Now check the integration of this restoration here. Not bad, huh? Not bad. You have to look close up and without any saliva. You can see the picture, it's no Photoshop, yeah? And no saliva on the top. Good. So now we come back to the tabletops. I told you there are different preparation styles possible for these occlusal veneers. And you can see for the ceramic, this would be the best, yeah? This would be the best for the ceramic. You have even thickness of the restoration, and then you can see this is there's no chamfer here, yeah? It's just like a slight bevel here. So this would be great, something like that, yeah? This is very good for the ceramic because it's well supporting the ceramic. So this would be the ideal thing to do. As I said before, the minimum thickness, if you want to do it with emax, is 1 millimeter. Doesn't matter if this is the press version or the cat version, but 1 millimeter is the minimum thickness. So you can see now this is the preparation style where there is no additional chamfer on the side. Yeah, so it's just like that, flat, maybe a little bit. Let's say turn down a little bit, but no chamfer, okay? As opposed to this one. I showed you this from the study from Dr. Edelhoff, but he had a chamfer here, right? So this with chamfer, and this is without the chamfer, okay? So which one is better? Which one is better? What's your idea? With this one. So who thinks this is better? And who thinks this is better? And who has no opinion? Okay, so you know I'm asking this kind of question for myself, right? Because I want to look for the best preparation. For sure, this one is more invasive than this one. So now the question is, what about the strength? Which one is better regarding the strength? Yeah, what is better for the ceramic? Do I have more fracture here, or do I have more fracture here? Okay, so now, again, there are no clinical studies on that, okay? I showed you this one was very, very successful because this is the study with 11 years. Yeah, 11 years with this preparation, we had a 100% survival rate with emax. And this one here, we don't know exactly, yeah? But let's have a look on the in vitro study. So they have actually done tabletops manufactured with two different preparation designs. Yeah? So they have actually done straight bevel versus chamfer. And they have also used two different materials. They have actually used a weaker material, which is Empress, and they have used a stronger material, which was emax. Okay? And so the result was, so you can see here, this is with the chamfer, and this one is just a straight bevel. Okay? So this one we both have straight bevel and chamfer, both compared. And then, of course, they have cemented this adhesively on the teeth, and they have loaded it until fracture, right? So now you can see when they use with Empress with a bevel, straight bevel, 3,000 Newton, 3,199 Newton, and then with the chamfer 3,200. So no difference here. Also, with emax. With a straight bevel, 4,070, and with a chamfer, 4,173. So no difference. Of course, between the two materials, there is a difference because emax is much stronger than Empress. But between the preps, straight or chamfer, for both material, there is no difference. Okay? So you can do both according to what is better for you. Yeah. So yeah, that's just sorry. Yeah, okay. Yeah, but both of them actually have very high fracture resistance. Even both of them, even exceeding maximum masticatory forces. So you can see, normally patients have a force when they are biting, between 300 and 880 newtons. Yeah? That's the normal biting force. If you have a Bruxer, they can go more. Yeah? They can maybe about 1,500. Yeah? Natural molars, they can do 2,680. Yeah? So this is called maximum one. Yeah? Really, like really maximum that has been measured. But here we have a fracture load up to 4,173 with emax. That's why emax also is so durable, because it really can take a lot of loading. Okay, so yeah, okay. Now for the veneers, I would like to go to do this after the break, after the lunch break. We go very into the details of veneer preparation. Yeah. So if you have any question so far, before we go for lunch, you are most welcome to ask some questions. Of course, when you have a question, you can raise your hand and somebody will bring you a microphone. You have to come out.
Vâng. Em thầy cho em hỏi là những cái trường hợp mà mòn răng thì thầy có đeo cái máng chống yến trước và sau khi răng của mình.
Do you indicate
the protector split with the erosion case?
For erosion cases, no, for Bruxer I do.
Bruxer, yeah.
For Bruxer.
Do you indicate the protective split?
Yeah.